try and become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Who would have imagined that one of the biggest opening weekend box office movie of the year would be an R-rated biography about the father of the atomic bomb? Then again, I would never have wagered against Christopher Nolan's most recent epic movie. Based on the 2005 Pulitzer Prize-winning book American Prometheus, the triumph and tragedy of Julius Robert Oppenheimer. As he has done so throughout his filmmaking career, Nolan uses a non-linear structure to tell the story, laying out Oppenheimer's, Cillian Murphy's life and career as the soft-spoken, incredibly intelligent inventor of the atomic bomb. The movie seamlessly transitions from significant events in Oppenheimer's life, and in typical Nolan fashion, he does away with the traditional forward biopic portrait of the man. Instead, Nolan spends most of his movie cutting between the race to develop the atomic weapon before the Axis forces during World War II and the Cold War Red Scare politics. In the former, General Groves, Matt Damon, selects Oppenheimer to lead the entire project devoted to creating the first world nuclear weapon. In the latter, the World War II hero is forced to defend his government security clearance in the face of accusations of disloyalty and in light of his prior connections with the Communist Party members who were carrying identification cards. The movie is structured as a duel between Oppenheimer and his adversary, Lewis Strauss, the former chairman of the US Atomic Energy Commission, Robert Downey Jr. Although many people will always think of Robert as Iron Man, it's fantastic to see Mr. Downey doing what he does best, acting. It goes without saying that Cillian Murphy's performance deserves an Oscar, since it's superb. And now that he is finally free of Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. shows us once again what a fantastic actor he is when given quality material to work with. He ought to be nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor as well. Along with Matt Damon and Downey, a strong supporting cast include Benny Safdie as Edward Teller, Kenneth Branagh as Niels Bohr, and Gary Oldman as Harry S. Truman. Emily Blunt as Oppenheimer's wife Kitty launches a deftly timed surprise strike as the film's most ferocious Cold Warrior, hair armor as a carapace of pearls, cherries in the snow lipstick, and righteous wrath. Meanwhile, Florence Pugh gives the committophobe Tatlock a bruised life. The entire time, Nolan's screenplay switches back and forth between two US government hearings from the 1950s that are acted out like dramatic courtroom dramas, pausing for extended periods of time to recount Oppenheimer's personal narrative. Oppenheimer is a national hero in the 1950s, but a panel debating whether to remove his security clearance is questioning based on unfounded claims that he poses a communist threat. By digging into the life of this extraordinary complex person, Oppenheimer compels us to examine some of the most important moral dilemmas of modern times, along with our greatest shortcomings, not simply with the morality of WMDs and nuclear deterrence, but also with how we handle personality, thought, and political differences. We are forced to look at ourselves much more closely and consider the kind of world we really want to live in as our modern world races towards both unparalleled change and the politics of fear and division that plagued the middle of the 20th century. Like myself, there's a good chance you went to the cinema to watch how Christopher Nolan captures one of the most renowned explosions in human history, and there's no doubt the filmmaker is well aware of the excitement around that scene in the movie. The Trinity test in the New Mexico desert comes slowly and piece by piece thanks to Ludwig von Göransson's score, and Jennifer Lame's expert editing allows the performers and the audience to feel the weight of the situation cover them like a shroud. Then everything is suddenly torn away in one of the most stunning, somber, and instantly iconic scenes you're likely to see at the movies this year. When the bomb is about to go off, Nolan might have crushed your eardrums. Instead, he commands silence from the audience so that our eyes can take in the intense visceral vision, and the packed theatre sat in complete silence as we all took it in. This is a moment that I will always cherish as a pivotal one in my movie watching experience. The majority of the movie is from Oppenheimer's point of view. Strauss's perspective is shown in sections of the film that are in black and white and purposely cramped when he testifies before a US Senate committee debating his nomination for Secretary of Commerce. These moments resemble Memento, a film in which the plot twist occurs early on. This disjointed chronologically successfully conveys a sense of impending catastrophe that looms over the previous scenes. There is so much depth to Oppenheimer, so many ideas, concepts, contradictions, and philosophical conundrums, a ton of egos, skills, temperaments, loyalties, and high aspirations. Despite Murphy's spellbinding performance, these intangible uncontrollable elegies are what propel Oppenheimer, which Nolan captures primarily in exquisitely detailed close-ups, interspersed with a vista of stars, water, and cosmic explosions. The movie looks stunning, both in colour during the Los Alamos years and in black and white Strauss scenes, which simmer. This is the most Nolan-esque movie to date, with a visual resemblance to Terrence Malick's Tree of Life. Whether the mysterious title character of Oppenheimer was a great man or the victim of his own exaggerated self-importance is one of the mysteries of the film. As a director at the pinnacle of his abilities, Nolan has used these abilities not just to surprise or speculate, but to transport the viewer into a historical period that, despite how it may seem, actually occurred only a short time ago. He has brought to life J. Robert Oppenheimer, as well as the still vital debates we both initiated an attempt to end by crafting that story in such a beautiful, elegant, and compulsively watchable manner. In an enormous, profound, and brilliant artistic picture, Oppenheimer audaciously asserts that such arguments are still worthwhile. If there was one thing to complain about here, it would have to be the relationship between Strauss and Oppenheimer, played by Robert Downey Jr. and Cillian Murphy respectively, is never really established in the movie, so the big surprise, which occurs around 2/3 of the way through, isn't as interesting as it should be. The film's final twists and turns might have had more significance if Nolan had attempted to establish these bonds earlier in the narrative. However, Oppenheimer is deserving of the title masterpiece here. It's arguably Christopher Nolan's strongest movie to date, a leap to a new level for one of the best directors working today, and a film that ingrains itself deeply in your memory. I, for one, cannot wait to head back to the cinema next week for a second viewing. Until then, I'll be listening to the excellent Oppenheimer soundtrack on repeat. Well, that's enough rambling for one day.